Okay. Can you see everything? All right. Perfect. Alrighty. So welcome back everybody to the It Takes Two. It Takes Two to Talk Hanen program for parents. We're on session 3, which is the take turns to keep the interaction going. So we're going to move on to look at routines, which are a wonderful way for your child to take turns and stay in the interaction. So much of our lives are organized around routines. For example, how many of you all drive a car? And you can raise your hands. Alrighty. And if you drive often, it's probably a routine for most of the time, such as going to work or doing errands and so on. But when you think about when you were first learning to drive a car, was this actually a routine yet? No, we had to focus on each and every step, and especially for cars that are driving with standard, but thankfully most of our cars are automatic, so it's not that hard to learn the controls. But when you learn to drive, there were specific steps involved, such as buckling your seatbelt, turning on the car, putting it in gear to put in set and drive, etc. And because the order of these steps stayed the same and were repeated over and over again, they became predictable. And the order, predictability, and the repetition are the things that made it into a routine. So can one of you all tell me what was about your daily routines at home? This can be like bath time or anything like that.
Typically my daughter and I, um, I'll come to her with her bath towel because it has like a little character on it. And I'll say like it's time for bath.
Yeah, that's a good example. I like how you bring out her favorite towel with her character on it. Um that's good. Um so yeah, so basically that would be like starting out the routine and then basically then continuing with that, but basically that would show that there are specific steps within the routine. So So as Emily mentioned, she probably does this towel, presenting the towel for bath time probably all the time whenever it's bath time. And this would be more so like following the same order within the routine. And basically you would have to keep the order the same pretty much. And then obviously, again, using the same example, bath time usually occurs a lot every day at a specific time, and that they're just repeated a lot. So, and routines must be repeated many times. So as this routine is repeated over and over again, such as the bath time routine, your child gets to know every part of it, and they become familiar with the steps in the routine, as well as the words, sounds, and gestures that go with them. And then after a while, they learn to anticipate what happens next. And do any of your children anticipate what happens next in your routines? Yeah, for the most part, I'm seeing some head nods. So there are also specific roles within the routines as well. And this is when both the parent and the child have a role to play. So at first, the child will need their parents' help to play their role. But over time, and as the child gets more comfortable with the routine, they may be able to switch roles and be able to take over the parent and kind of lead the session, or not session, the routine. So for example, in the beginning, a parent may cover their head in a game of peekaboo while their child waits for their favorite part of the game, the boo. So then later, the child may start the routine and then take on their parent's role by putting the blanket over their head or over their parent's head. So there are three different kinds of routines that you can do. There are daily routines. This can be such as bath time or even getting dressed in the morning or whenever time you get dressed with your child. Are there any examples of daily routines that take place in your homes?
When I wake my daughter up in the morning, we always um get dressed right after.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one to do a daily routine just right after and getting dressed right after they get up. That's a very good example of a daily routine. Yeah. The next one is people games. This is like play routines that involve just you and your child without any toys. And this can be such as tickle, peekaboo, songs, and rhymes. And people games are especially fun because they usually have a high point or a best moment. For example, the high point in peekaboo is when you say boo. And then the last one is your own special routines. These are routines that you create just for you and your child, and um, and these are just specific to you all. And do any of you all have example of these types of routines?
While my daughter and I are getting ready for the day and I'm dressing her, I let her choose a different bow every day when I'm doing her hair for the to get ready.
That's actually really cool, actually. I love that you let your daughter choose a bow for her outfit and stuff. I think that's really unique and special for you two. I think I like that. So once your child is familiar with any of the three different kinds of routines here, you can use it to create opportunities for them to take turns and learn language. This could be verbal or nonverbal, such as gestures. So now we're going to watch a video of a mom and her child, Sean. And as we watch this video, I want you to think about how Sean's mom could build in opportunities for him to take turns.
Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies. Husha, husha, we all fall dead. Picking up the daisies, picking up the daisies. Husha, husha, we all stand up. Again, ring around the rosy, a pocket.
Alrighty. So what kind of things did you notice within the video that we just watched?
I saw that the mom wasn't pausing at all, just continuing to play.
Yeah, I felt like she was going really fast.
Yeah, both y'all are definitely right. She definitely didn't really take time to pause to let Sean really have the opportunity to take turns, and she was also going very fast. So even then, there wasn't even an opportunity for him to even do anything at all since she was just going just through it, and it's more like they were just having fun and just playing Ring Around the Rosie. So what kind of turns do you think Sean could take given that he is a communicator?
He could kind of use a gesture to indicate that he wants to start it or wants to play Ring Around the Rosie.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be very useful. Just any kind of gesture or anything to help him take his turn and get the opportunity to communicate. So now that we mentioned about Sean taking the opportunities, how could mom build in opportunities for Sean to take turns within the routine? What kind of like cues could she use?
She could pause and wait for Sean to initiate the routine of playing Ring Around the Rosie, or even pause before the big moments happen.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, yeah, she could definitely take the time to just pause before the big moments and even like, yeah, even just like, well, yeah, just pausing, just giving any chance for him to just take his turn. Okay, well, I didn't ask you to play. So now we're going to watch a video of Sean and his mom again. And as you watch this, that was the same video, I just realized. Um, think about what his mom does differently as you watch this.
Ring around the rosy. Ring around the rosy. A pocket full of posies. Hush, hush, we all fall. Whoa! The daisies. Hush, hush, we all stand. Yay! Okay, other hand, go. Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies. Hush, hush, we all fall. Whoa!
Alrighty. So after watching that, what did Sean's mom do differently this time to help Sean take a turn in the routine?
I feel like she really slowed down and exaggerated her movements so that way he could have more time to think about like what was going to come next, and uh, like she gave him an opportunity to for him to take a turn.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely she slowed down. Just even singing the song for the game and even like you said, yeah, just giving the opportunity for him to just um be able to do what he um take his turn, like to fall down and um all of that. So how did mom start the routine?
She used a gesture by making like a circle with her hand and saying Rosie instead of Ring Around the Rosie.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she definitely used a gesture to help start that. And yeah, even just simplifying Ring Around the Rosie to make it easier for the kid to understand is definitely something that helps. So what was the impact on Sean? Was he able to take more turns and what were his turns that he did?
When his mom would pause before they all fall down, he fell and kind of made like a sound while going down that kind of sounded like down.
Yeah, he definitely did that. But you're right. Yes, he definitely did that to take his turn and gave himself was able to get the opportunity to do that. Um, let's see. Was the mom able to repeat the same actions, sounds, and words within the routine? Yeah, I saw a couple head nods there. Yes, definitely. She definitely did. And how did Sean know when the routine ended, and what did he do to end that?
He knew when the routine had ended when they finished all of the high points in the song, and she was just kind of waiting for him, so he did the around gesture. Also, sorry if you guys can hear, there's a motorcycle outside my house. Very
You're
loud.
totally fine. You are totally fine. You probably heard the bell of my cat running around, so I get that. But yes, you're definitely right. He used the gesture, the round gesture to start the ring around the rosy again. So what you all did just then is you identified a way to ensure that how to use routines to help your child take turns, and this is known as Spark. And every letter of the word stands for one thing that you can do to make sure that your child takes turns with you in your
Roam
routines
around
to
the
go.
rosy.
I didn't ask for you to start again, video. Thank you. Um, so here are the letters Spark, and we are going to watch a video explaining how that works.
First, Mom remembers to start the routine the same way each time. She says the same words and uses a gesture to let Sean know what game they're going to play.
Roam around the rosy.
Mom had to plan what Sean's turn would be. At the beginning of the routine, Sean would use the round gesture. In the middle of the game, she planned that he would fall down and make a sound for down.
Yo, fall. Yo.
At the end, she planned that he would stand up and raise his hands. And then he would ask for the game to start again all by himself. To help Sean know when to take a turn and what kind of turn to take, Mom adjusts the routine. She cues Sean by pausing the game and waiting expectantly, and then Sean takes his turn.
Hush. Yo, fall. Yo.
When Sean doesn't take his turn, she uses a more obvious cue. She waits even longer, and then she shows him what to do.
Yo, stand. Yo.
Sean and his mom repeat the routine many times so he gets to have fun at the same time as he's getting better and better at taking turns. By keeping the end of the routine the same, Mom gives Sean an opportunity to start the routine all over again.
Okay.
When Mom uses a routine to spark an interaction, she helps Sean take better turns in the routine, and he learns to start the game again.
Alrighty. I'll start the video again. Okay, good, perfect. Alrighty. So we are going to move on, and I want you all to turn to page 75 in your guidebook, and you're gonna follow along as we review each letter within Spark. So the S in Spark stands for start the same way each time. This could be something as simple as giving your routine a simple name. For example, you can shorten a long name like Ring Around the Rosy to Rosie, and then adding a visual helper to then go with the name. So for example, in Peekaboo, you can hold up the blanket when you say, "Do you want to play Boo?" And over time, your child will learn to recognize the routine by its name and the visual helper. And eventually, they may ask for the routine by saying its name or using the visual helper, like Sean did in the video, or even both. So what would be some simple names and or visual helpers that you could use within your routines?
For my daughter and I, when we're choosing her bows, we could say bow time.
It's nice. I like that. That's a good example. Now the P stands for plan your child's turn. So plan for when it will happen. This could be something at the end of the routine, just before the high point, or when you pause during the routine. And you also plan how your child will take the turn, and that will depend on their stage of communication. So a discoverer won't be able to make a request for the routine to continue or to be repeated. So you will probably have to interpret any reaction or sign of anticipation as a request for more. And you just have to watch carefully for any subtle movements. This can be like faster breathing or kicking their feet. And even the slightest reaction to anything is very important. So a communicator can take turns without using words. And like Sean did in the video that we just saw, a communicator's turn could be an eye gaze, a point, a reach, a sound, anything that can indicate that they want to take a turn without words. So first word user can take turns using a specific word or sign as part of the routine. This could be something as saying more or even signing more. And the combiner can use a two-word combination to take their turn in the routine. For example, fall down in the last part of Ring Around the Rosie. So, what example could you of how your child might be able to take turns in certain routines?
An example I have is during bath time, squeaking the duck and then waiting for my child to take the duck and then use her turn to squeak the duck.
Yeah, that's a good example. For sure, definitely. Yeah, like using the duck as a way to take turns and just during the bath time. I like that. Okay. So A stands for adjust the routine to give your child a chance to take a turn. So in other words, basically you would use cues. So at the beginning, when your child doesn't know how to participate in the routine yet, you would need to give them lots of cues to help them take a turn. And later on, as your child becomes more familiar with the routine, you can then start to use fewer cues. And at that point, pausing a routine and looking at them expectantly may be enough to encourage them to take their turn, such as when we saw with Sean and his mom. His mom took that pause and was expecting him to fall down during Ring Around the Rosie. So the R stands for repeat the same action, sounds, and words. So again, a routine is a series of steps that need to be followed in the same order each time. So when you keep the steps the same, you'll be helping your child learn the steps in the routine so that they'll be able to start to anticipate what's going to happen next. So just like the example with bath time, or even with getting dressed with Jordan's example of both with the bows, using bow time over and over again, the child can then anticipate, oh, we're choosing bows now during my getting dressed routine. And finally, the K stands for keep the ending the same. So for example, the end of a bedtime routine, you might be turning out the light and saying night night. And if a routine doesn't have an obvious end, you could say something like all done or finished. And just remember to wait after your routine has ended, just because your child may request that you may start the routine again, indicated by Sean wanting to start ring around the rosy again with his gesture. Do you all have any examples of how you could end your routines that you may have?
Or story reading at bedtime. I kind of say like it's time for bed when we finish, but I could shorten it to like night night or bedtime.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good way to end it, just so that way they're not reaching for more books or anything like that, and they just know like, oh, now it's time to go to sleep. So now we are going to do some practice. I didn't ask you to start. So we're going to watch Jake and his mom, and as we watch this video, just think about how can Jake's mom use the swing routine to spark an interaction.
One more. Thank you. Okay, ready? Whee! Whee! Do it again. Whee! Oh. Whee!
So, after watching that video, do you think it's realistic to expect Jake, who is the discoverer, to take his turn by saying the word more? Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing the head shakes. No, we don't expect him to say anything, or even saying the word more specifically. So, what could Jake's turn be in considering that he is a discoverer?
Maybe like nodding his head or smiling or kicking his feet.
Yeah, even just simple movements like that, as we saw in the video, he was definitely kicking his feet. That could definitely be an indication that he would want more swing time. So how could the mom adjust the routine to help Jake take his turn, and what cues could she use for that?
Instead of asking more and just asking more, she could say again or do you want to go again and look for his like subtle cues that he might have that we talked about.
Yeah, definitely. I think those are definitely some good things the mom could use to help Jake take his turn, even as something as like pausing the swing in midair, and even using like very over exaggerated facial expressions could work as well. So what could the mom say to interpret Jake's reaction?
Maybe like, excuse me, again, or push.
Yeah, simple words like again or push or even swing, just considering you're not expecting him to say more or anything like that, that would be like a bit more simpler and he might be able to understand that better. Okay. Oh, good. Didn't start the video again. Yay. All right. So we're going to work in a group together, and basically we are going to come up with a routine using the Spark method and just think about just starting planning, adjusting, repeating, and keeping these things the same. So, what would be a routine that you all would use at home that would you would use this method for?
I guess I could use snack time to use the Spark model.
Yeah, snack time. How would you would start snack time?
I could say just simply snack time and help my daughter into her high chair so she knows that it's time for snack time. Um, I could plan her turn by giving her an option of like, does she want Cheerios or does she want Goldfish or those like little fruit flavored puffs.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
could kind of anticipate, like, not give it to her directly, but like just hold it in front of her and see if she reaches for it or makes any kind of gesture that I can interpret as her requesting it or asking for more. And ask, like, using cues to ask her, do you want more or do you want this? Um, and just doing it over and over again every day.
Yeah, that's a definitely good way. You basically like hit it all. Just like so but yeah, you would definitely hit all of them, I think. I think you discussed ending it. But even then, just like even ending it as a simple all done, or even if all the snacks are gone, just even that works too. But yeah, that is definitely a good example for that. So for next time that we meet, we'll be able to talk about other routines more with you all, and we'll be able to like answer these questions. Um, yeah, does anybody have any questions or anything? Alrighty, then I will see you all next time for our next session.
Thank you.
You
Thank you.
You're welcome.